I'd like to spend some time talking a little bit about Aristotle. Now, this might sound like it's boring, because to be honest, you just say the word Aristotle and people are like, they want to go to sleep. But actually, I really love talking about his proofs. I love talking about what this segment will be about, which is logos, pathos, mythos, and ethos. I think it's fascinating, and you'll see after this lecture, you'll be able to see and respond to a number of communicative events where logos, ethos, mythos, and pathos are either at play well or maybe not so much. So I'm really interested in knowing what you think. But let's talk about those individually first. So first we've got, for Aristotle, we've got logos, which basically means logic. Our arguments, our speech needs to make sense. That's really all it means. It's very interesting these days because sometimes leaders don't make a lot of sense and yet they still remain leaders, and so that's confusing. I'm not sure why that's changed, but I think that's something that communication professionals are going to spend a lot of time diagnosing and dissecting in the future. The second element is pathos. Pathos basically has to do with empathy. Empathy being a real connection, like an emotional connection to the audience. Now, that doesn't mean emotional is always like sad or intense, but some kind of connection, some kind of attachment to the audience is important. Third is, and I just want to, a lot of times when you hear about Aristotle's proofs, you don't hear about mythos. Mythos usually is something that is talked specifically about in theater, but I think it's really interesting because mythos has to do with an ability to connect to culture. And one of the things that we can really see mythos in right now is just the evolution of language. How if I say something, how it can connect to the audience. It might even be a word that no one knew, even like last year, it could be brand new. But mythos gives room for it because culture is always changing and evolving. And the final proof is ethos that I want to talk about. So ethos has to do with a sense of ethics or character. And there are 4 components to ethos that I really want you to know. One is a sense of competence. So in order to prove that you have ethos or character, you have to have a sense of competence, which means that you know how to do something. So for instance, when, and times have changed so much, it's hard to imagine this, but when Vice President Dan Quayle was in a 5th grade classroom and a child went up to the board and he spelled the word potato, P-O-T-A-T-O. Dan Quayle thought he would, Vice President Quayle thought that he would, I think I spelled potato wrong, P-O-T-A-T-O. I think I did all right. All right. Vice President Quayle thought that he would help out the child, and he added an E to the end of the word. No big deal. This was even before a time where there was social media and it wasn't even tweeted a million times and so on. But the media did get a hold of it and then posted it, and not posted it, but aired it. And people were like, oh my gosh, it actually damaged his ethos considerably because people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Vice President Quayle is an idiot because he didn't know how to spell potato. That obviously wouldn't be a problem these days because we have leaders who make up words and so on, but anyways, it really damaged his ethos. And it's something small like that. It's just shocking. The second thing that helps with ethos is a sense of integrity. So a speaker's ethos can be damaged if, for instance, it's found out that there's an indiscretion, or that they lie. It can really hurt their ethos. The third component of ethos is likability, which is kind of a funny little thing, or attractiveness of some kind. It's so funny, like, that your ethos, that you can be seen as an ethical speaker just because people like you. But it's a factor. So, you know, there are people that we just like, that we just enjoy, that maybe don't have a lot of logos or pathos or whatever, but we like them because we like them. And that actually increases their ethos. And then fourth is a sense of forcefulness. Now, that doesn't mean that more forcefulness is better. In fact, sometimes the forcefulness can be too much. Case in point, as you'll see later on in the video that I will post, Howard Dean, who was a Democratic candidate for president, actually blew his chances when, after the Iowa caucuses, he got a little too excited. Now, again, times have changed, but he got a little too excited, and people were like, whoa, can't have hothead in the White House. So his ethos was damaged considerably. You can decide for yourself if it seems too much. I will say most students are like shocked to realize that this is actually the thing that destroyed his career, but it really did damage things. So you'll see that in the videos to come. Also, you'll have the opportunity to evaluate a speaker whose logos, ethos, mythos, and ethos is either great or not so great, and you'll get to tell why in the discussion.